in, I want to start by talking a little bit about the history of In Theory. I know there is the Go-Go Tuners family, and now there is In Theory. So, is it a band? Is it a two-piece? Can you talk a little bit about the history itself?
Yeah, well, it's we don't actually right now presently have a steady drummer or bass player, but it's a band concept. Eventually, we will have a band. Right now, Mike Mostert, he's the guitar player, co-writer, producer, and I'm the singer, co-writer. Me and Mike have a history. We've been in a band before, back in the '90s. We were in a band called Big Mouth, and we were signed to EMI Records, and we put a record out in Europe, Japan, and so me and Mike have a long history. So about 3 years ago, we finally all the planets aligned, and we figured, we want to put together a rock band because you got to remember at the time we went through the grunge and we went through all these different things, and um, really didn't want to change the style that we were or I was, like I didn't want to all of a sudden pretend I was a grunge singer and stuff like that, which is fine. I mean, I love a lot of that stuff. Um, so we felt like it was the time was right about 3 years ago to really kick it off, and we feel like there's a genre now which I'm excited about. It's called modern classic rock. So you have hopefully bands like us, bands like Rival Sons. There's a band Dirty Honey. There's Greta Van Fleet, bands like that where it's old school rock and roll, and that's what we're about.
Excuse me.
And so we about 3 years ago formed the band and we started writing. We did two songs on that Go Go Tuna record just to get our feet wet. But we feel like right now we're in a whole different thing. We're actually doing our own record. We think our recordings and our writing and our music is on another level.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But there's two songs, Heroes and The River,
And
that
the
are
river.
out now. Right. We have two others that are finished, and we're actually recording two others. So our plan eventually is to have a full blown
Full
EP.
album.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so tell me, Tony, how did Mike and you meet for the first time? I know you guys go back a long way, like you just said. How did you guys meet for the first time?
Well, actually, like I said, I was the singer for the band Big Mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and we were auditioning guitar players. So Mike was one of the guitar players who came down. So he obviously got the job, and we just became friends, and all these years. So we're like brothers, friends, and you know, it, there's different people in the music business, and there's a select few that have the talent, but also have the drive, and he has that, and I think I have that. So when you find people like that, you stay with those people because
Yeah.
honestly there's a lot of people in the business. They do it that they don't really have the drive. They just want to look good and do a show, and they don't really want to go the extra mile. Or there's been times where I've sold everything just so I can go back in the studio and finish the song. Like a lot of people don't have the dedication, but me and Mike hit it off like that, and that's why we've always stuck together through all the times. And it's crazy how now I think we're doing the best stuff we've ever done. So it's really exciting.
That's interesting, right? How the long-term connection plays out musically as well, right? I guess there's a lot of synergy as far as songwriting and just the way
Yeah,
you guys think, right?
yeah, yeah. And we feel, we are a band. I mean, just right now because of the COVID and all the stuff that we felt like we had to keep the ball rolling. So it wasn't really a time to meet a
Yeah.
full-time drummer and a full-time bass player. So we knew we had to write. We knew we had to get material out. We're doing what we can on social media. We wanted to keep the ball rolling, and the music is coming out great. I mean, we're,
Yeah.
we're really proud of it.
The music
Hopefully,
is fabulous. Yeah. Yeah.
thank you. And
Yeah.
but eventually that's our plan to get on the road. We will have a full band.
Mhm.
But if you look back through the history of great rock bands, you always have that guitar singer. There's
Yeah.
always that team,
Yeah.
and hopefully we're establishing that.
Yeah. with the musicians itself on both the tracks, how did you guys go about finding the musicians on both tracks?
Luckily, Mike's living down in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and that's like a hotbed for musicians.
Hmm.
And it dates back from, Aretha Franklin started there, and all these bands, So it has a history to it. And there, believe it or not, there's a circle of 5 or 6 studios that are, I mean, they're full time every day, like the famous Fame studio.
Yeah.
And and we recorded East Avalon Recorders, which is our home away from home. So we're doing all the music is done down there. Mike lives there. We have a drummer that's playing on 3 of our tracks. And we have a bass player that's played on most of our stuff. We have actually Clinton Ivy, who's a famous keyboard player who's played on I mean, you look him up, he's been on everybody's record. He's just a fabulous musician. So he's doing the Hammond B3 stuff when we need it on our records. So it just has a certain band sound to it, so that it's going to be easy to transition to when we finally do find these 2 other guys. This is us. It's not like we're just bringing people in and they come in and play what they want. We already have a vision. We already have a lane that we want to be in. So whoever comes in has to kind of fit that feel, that
Absolutely.
style. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So every song has a thread. It's definitely a band record.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a like sometimes people play and they come in, they play their style on your record, and that's not what this is.
Yeah, yeah. But Muscle Shoals, I think Lynyrd Skynyrd recorded there as well, right? I think it was the first album, right?
When it skidded, and actually the Stones went down there.
The Stones went there, yeah, yeah.
Stones went there just to get that feel. More recently, the band Rival Sons went down on their last record and did 2 songs there. So it has, and Steven Tyler went down there and did a lot of stuff. And it just has a history to it. Can't really explain it. They say it's the Tennessee River.
Yeah.
I kind of believe it. There's just certain places when you walk in, or you're in a town, or you're in a certain building where Aretha Franklin sang in this room. Like, a lot of the stuff is not changed, so it just has a certain feel to it.
Does that make it intimidating?
Not intimidated. It makes you up your game.
Yeah.
It's just not another day in the studio. Like, if you're there and you're recording and that light goes on, you feel like let's go for it. Like, because those people did. Yeah. And almost like you want to carry it forward.
Yeah,
I'm not at that level. I'm just saying I'm doing my version of my best.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, I think.
Yeah, I do, yeah. No, just to think that, your heroes might have recorded there, or your heroes might have played at that venue, I've always wondered whether it was intimidating. But talking about heroes, that leads us to the singles you've done, right? You have Heroes and you have The River. Can you talk a little bit about Heroes? Let's start by talking a little bit about Heroes. What's the song about?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Heroes, even though it says, "Who are you heroes?" and then my next line is, "And do they lie?"
Yeah.
So it's not an anti-hero song. It's sort of a song that says, "Be careful who you look up to. Be careful who you're watching on the television." There's certain people that have agendas, and you got to be careful. It's not always what you see.
Yeah.
And that's basically the structure of the feeling that I wanted to get out. Who are your heroes and do they lie? It could be about anything.
Yeah.
It could apply to you differently than it applies to me. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's what we were trying to get out. And I think everything that's going on in the world today, I think you could kind of see, who are your heroes,
Yeah, no, I think like you brilliantly sung and written, it's about, you have, celebrity heroes and you have cultural heroes, right? So it's important and one is elevated essentially by the media, and the other actually makes a difference to people's lives, right? Cultural heroes, I think, make a difference to people's lives. So I think it's very apt that you ask that question, who are your heroes? And it's important for people to be able to discern and to be able to know who your heroes are. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And not only that, sometimes your heroes are right in front of you.
Yeah,
Your mother, your father, your brother, your sister. You don't need to look.
absolutely.
There's no reason to look past that.
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah,
times people they overlook what's right in front of them.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. Who are your heroes growing up?
Musically,
Yeah, musically, yeah.
well, I guess it would start with my brother. My brother Joe. We were a lot of years apart. I was 14 years apart from him. But when he was in high school, I was just a little baby. Um, he was signed to Atlantic Records already, and he had a great musical career going. And then I have a first cousin, Joey Franco, and he was actually a drummer. He played in Twisted Sister for a little while. He's played on numerous records, everywhere from he played on Taylor Dane, played on Mariah Carey's first stuff. He's just an awesome drummer. And growing up, I was always at parties, and he was never there. There was always a cool story. My uncle would always say, "Oh, well, he's playing here and he's playing there," and I used to sit there like, "Oh, wow, I want to do that," like. So it started with the family, with those two people, and I just slowly got into it. And it's weird because I come from a family that really didn't encourage it. Like my mom,
Hmm.
she was naturally worried, like, do something, parents, like they want you to be safe and
Yeah,
stuff. It's just something that you just do. Like you don't, if you truly love it, you just do it. You don't choose to do it,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so, but that's how basically I got started. 11 years ago.
Amazing, amazing. The other song you have written, the other single is called "The River." Can you talk a little bit about that and the just the feeling in that song and what that's about?
Yeah, the river symbolizes uh, someone who's gone through life and just can't find their way yet,
Hmm.
and they don't really know what it is they're looking for even. So it's sort of like the river is like a cleansing, a symbol of cleansing, wash away, wash, like, give me a little bit of what you want from me. That's what the bridge says.
Hmm.
Like whoever that person is that you're talking to, it doesn't matter. But I
Yeah.
need guidance here. Like just give me a little bit. I
Hmm.
want
Hmm.
to know. So that's why, the river's gonna save me. So the river could be anything, but basically it's someone who just wants to find their way. They haven't found it yet. Like
Yeah.
they have that. So
Yeah, I think
that
I think it's nice that there's some ambiguity there, and even with both the videos, right? While the visuals are absolutely great, I think there's room for it to grow in your head, and for you to imagine and takeaways. And our takeaways could be different on both of it, right?
Yeah, and you know what? And that's the way I try to write is well, we try to write, but if I come up with lyrics, I don't want to tell you what to think. I
Yeah,
I, I give you a generalized thing, and whatever it is to you, cool. That's I like that. Like you could tell me what it means to you,
yeah,
and I could be like, awesome. It might not
yeah,
have been what I was thinking, but who cares? I mean, that's what music's supposed to be. It's supposed to mean something for everyone, and we're not. I'm not telling anyone what to do or think.
yeah.
This is your music, and
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, it is personal, right? And each of us relate to things differently. We relate to visuals and words differently, and I think that's what it's about. Can you talk a little bit about the production of both the songs?
yeah. The well, like I said, Mike Mostert, the guitar player and my partner in the band, he produces all the stuff. So the way we did it because of the lockdowns was that basically when we're writing ideas, we would do it over the phone. Like send me an idea, and I would sing over it, and I would send him back a part. Then he would go into the studio with a little drum machine to start off with and record the guitars. Then he'd send it to me, and I have my own vocal studio at my house. And I would sing like, hey, like heroes. Who are your heroes? Like I came up with that. It was like, oh, that's cool. And then, so we would go back and forth like that. And that's basically how we created. And then once we got the song to a point, then we brought the musicians in. Then he laid the music down.
Mhm.
And then I sang. Then he sent that to me, and then I sang it. And then we would then finish it off, and then he would sit there and mix it and produce it. So he's definitely put a lot more time into it than I have, because he has to do all the tedious stuff like drum sounds and bass sounds and trying to reel everything in so it all sounds like the way we want it to.
Yeah, yeah,
So my job is the melodies, the lyrics, and actually, and singing the song. Um, and we go back and forth on, well, that line's good, but change this line. And so one good thing that came out of the lockdown is that we were able to focus and write, and maybe write better than we would have if we didn't have that focus.
yeah, yeah.
So, and now we're hopefully loosening up as far as this COVID thing. I don't know, but hopefully now, like I said, we if we have an EP, and hopefully
Yeah.
maybe there's an opportunity to start playing shows. So we tried to make a very big negative out of a positive for us, and that's how we went back and forth. But as far as the production, and that's all mic'd down, done down in Muscle Shoals at East Avalon Recorders down in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. And I think, as well as a guitar player, Mike is an amazing producer.
Mhm.
And this is the sound that we're trying to get out there, and hopefully that everyone likes it.
Yeah, yeah. But Tony, tell me, do you think there's a tendency to, with so much technology around, do you think there's a tendency to overproduce something? Is that a danger?
Well, yeah. I mean, well, in rock and roll like this, and what I mean by modern classic rock, like that genre I told you about, it's great live human music. There's no, I could probably speak for, well, a couple bands that I know. I definitely could speak for myself. There's no pitch shift. There's no
Yeah,
correct.
I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah, there's no live. And if you listen to like old Deep Purple, you listen to Led Zeppelin, or you listen to those bands, they're amazing, but you can't put the drums to a click track.
Yeah.
That wavers. You can't, there's parts that Robert playing hits that are a little sharp, a little fun, but who cares? It's awesome. So that's what we are. Like we're not overproducing. All we're trying to do is get the song out the best possible presentation. And sometimes that's, instead of having 5 guitar tracks, only do 2.
Yeah, yeah,
The song needs to speak.
yeah,
As well as the parts. Sometimes the drummer in certain sections let the lead vocal take the lead, and then, okay, now it's the drummer's turn, and so there's an art to all that too. But there's definitely a lot of overproduction in certain genres for sure. I mean,
exactly. To a point where the emotion is lost, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's about the emotion in the music, and if that goes away, then
right. Yeah, I mean that's why we're attracted to this genre, this rock and roll, because it is emotion, right? And there's a lot of we won't mention artists, but there's a lot of people that just, it's perfect and it's been fixed, but it doesn't sound human. It's a great song, and if you want to do that, then hey man, I'm all for it. I don't put anybody down. Yeah. I consider if anybody is successful, that they earned it, and they do a lot of work. But there is cases where it's just like, okay, this is like just too much. Just 49 horns, and the vocals are perfectly in tune, and it's like, as an artist, I'm like, okay, well, I mean that's. I mean, but the stuff's great,
Yeah, yeah.
But we do write our own songs.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of bands out there that do write their own songs, especially in the genre we're in. what another genre is, you know, it could have 14 writers writing their songs for them. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, but tell me, just to talk a little bit about your writing process. Uh, how do you write songs? Is it driven by emotion, or is it a reflection of things that are happening around you? How do you write?
um, well, with me, well, the way we were writing, like I said, Mike would come up with like a guitar riff,
Hmm.
right? And okay, I like that, you know. And then I would get a certain feel off the guitar riff, or maybe the drum beat with the guitar. I get a certain feel, like if I, it might make me feel like angry, or it might make me feel like whatever that emotion is. And then I tend to write out of that feeling, and
Okay.
then I start to come up with, you know, I might have words written down and be like, oh yeah, I want to get that message out, and I'm kind of pissed off when I think about that.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
this fits, like that music fits, and it might be another song that doesn't fit, you know. So I kind of put the emotion to the music, to the guitar riff,
Hmm.
and that's the way we've
Nice.
been.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of times I don't have the word. A lot of times I'll sing, and I call it mush mouth. Like I'll just sing nothing words, but I'm getting the melody, I'm getting the emotion, and I'm getting the timing, and then I'll go in and I'll be like, okay, well now this has got to make sense lyrically. So sometimes I write that way too. So it's
Nice.
all emotion. Yeah.
But how do you know sometimes that you have an idea worth pursuing? I mean, are there times when you listen to a riff, or you're like, no, this is just not going to work, or how do you know when you have an idea worth pursuing?
Uh, I mean, I guess through our experience, like we know, like if something's like, oh, that's cool,
Hmm.
and then we might do something and be like, nah, that's cliche. Like, you know, I have a problem with, you know, it's like, yeah, it's good, but I heard it before. Like I've
Yeah,
heard it. I mean, you've always heard things before. We're not reinventing the wheel, but
yeah,
you kind of want something to kind of jump out at you and be like, ooh, that's kind of cool the way that happened.
correct.
Not
Yeah.
just like a typical, okay, here comes the bridge, here comes the chorus. So we try not to, we try to have our own sound and fit into that rock and roll, you know, genre, you know.
Yeah. But Tony, specific to you, to the vocals when you sing, how hard is it, or is it hard at all for you to not sound like your influences when you sing?
Um, well, your influences come out. I couldn't sound like the people, like I sound similar to certain people,
Hmm.
but I'm not going to sound like them. All I do is I try to, you know, through the years of all the singers that I admire, I try to develop my own style. But there are times where it's like, ooh, that sounds like him, or that's not, and it might not be the sound. It might be that's
Yeah.
like a phrase he would do, and then maybe when certain people are listening, they might be like, I like that wave. I heard that before, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
and I think
yeah,
that's a compliment to the artist that I like. I mean, that there's certain things that, like, we're not reinventing the wheel. I mean, you know, Steven Tyler had influences, right? Robert Plant had influences.
absolutely. Yeah.
Cornell, Chris Cornell had influences. You know, so we all try to pull from that, but we're not copying that. We're trying to bring that in our own style. So I have a few singers or artists that I try to put into my own style, and
Yeah.
yeah. So,
But talking of a distinct sound for the band, you spoke about the genre. You used a Hammond organ on these tracks, right?
yeah, yeah. That's an important part of the sound. It's sort of like the I don't know if you're familiar with the early Deep Purple kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's not the typical, you know, it's a rock song and you put a keyboard in. It was more to it. It gave it depth, and we're trying to capture that old school sound,
Yeah, yeah,
that Hammond V3. And
yeah.
we honestly we felt like, I mean, they're also, like I said, you know, bands like Rival Sons they have an amazing keyboard player too. Um, but we thought the B3 Hammond would give it a texture to it that you don't really hear. in rock and roll that much anymore. So we wanted to present that in our music. And honestly, it's not deliberate. It's sort of like what's coming out of that place. That's the sound that's coming out of that
Hmm.
place.
Hmm.
Now, if we, we always say, like, if we would have recorded these songs in LA or New York, it wouldn't have had the same sound,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And so it's just comes out of the people there, it comes out of the musicians there.
yeah.
Uh, and I feel like we're bringing rock, we're bringing a little bit of that, and we're mixing it with old school rock, and that's how we're coming
Yeah,
up with.
yeah. There's no doubt the Hammond adds a very something very distinct to the sound. Uh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
something I noticed. Yeah,
and he's honestly, he's probably probably one of the best Hammond, the B3 players in the world. I mean, the guy's incredible.
yeah,
Clint. I mean, if you look him up, you'll know exactly who he's played on, and what songs he's helped wrote. He wrote hundreds of songs. I mean,
yeah,
it's amazing what these musicians have accomplished, and we're lucky to kind of just break off a little chip of that, you know. And
yeah,
we're lucky that they like us down there. So we're honored, you know.
yeah. No, but tell me, Tony, now that you guys are finding a certain artistic voice that reflects the sound you want to pursue, um, and coming from you guys have been at this for almost 30 years now. How hard is it from a marketing perspective? With all the streaming now and all of that, and I mean, it's changed so much and it's evolved a lot. Do you find that part of it hard?
Yeah, it's odd, because coming up, the way you got noticed was you rehearsed, you played shows, you got the guy with the cigar coming down from the record company, and that was
That's it.
it.
Yeah,
I'm a star now, and that's the way we were brought up. Now things have changed very fast, and maybe it might not be as much as about the show, who comes down. Maybe it's about how many streams you're getting,
yeah,
and it's a game, because it's like you need the streams to get attention. But the sad part is, I mean, let's be honest, musicians are getting ripped off. I mean, they're not making any money. And a lot of these places are using the music of these people for free, and they're making the money, and the musicians aren't getting it. So the way we have to subsidize is we have to go out and play, and we have to sell shirts, and we have to sell tickets. So you need the streams to get your name out, and then hopefully then you can parlay that into buy my physical record, and now come and see my concert and buy my t-shirt.
yeah,
So, because if you think about a lot of these bands that are out now with all the streams they're doing, if this was back 30 years ago, they would be millionaire. I mean, and some of these guys, they get 500, 600,000 streams, or a million, 2 million streams. And what are they making? They're not making anything. But what they are, what the game is played is, you needed to get the attention now.
yeah,
And then now it's like, okay, well, now I'm doing a tour. So hopefully you were streaming my song. Now, hopefully you'll be like, hey, I want to go see Tony live. And okay, now I can make some,
yeah,
and it's not about the money, but we all have to, we need money to survive.
yeah. Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
because you're right. The platforms have the scale and the distribution. I think it makes sense to use it like that. Uh, but it's interesting, right? How it's evolved. I think the record labels itself seem to be in existential danger, as it were. Do you think? Do you agree with that? That do
Uh,
bands need a label at all?
they, well, no, well, the way it is now, they don't, but at the same time, it's good and it's bad, right? So it's good because you're in control. Like you can do your own music. You don't owe anybody hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can book your own tours. You can listen, if your stuff is good and you find a way to market it the right way,
Yeah,
sky's the limit. But I think the record companies are always going to be around, because let's be honest, the record companies, at least, I've heard this through, people like Steven Tyler and things like that, that the record companies basically behind the scenes, they cut deals with the these platforms. So they're basically getting money for the music, but the artists aren't.
Yeah.
You know. So, but do you need a record company to make it? No, you don't. I mean, it'll be a heck of a lot easier because obviously they have a promotion machine and you can get
Yeah.
on charts and things like that. But there's plenty of bands that they're selling out 5,000-6,000 seat places and they don't have a record company and
Yeah.
they
Exactly.
have and there's a lot of bands that had deals that got rid of their deals. They're doing their own thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is cool because they built their own name and now, hey man, now they're in the driver's seat and artists couldn't do that 30
Yeah.
years ago.
Exactly.
Once you
Yeah.
were locked in, you were locked in. So like I said, there's good and there's bad, but you have to know how to play the game. It's not enough just to be like, okay, my stuff's on Apple Music, everyone's gonna go and buy it. It's like they'll never find it. It's how to promote yourself so that they will
Absolutely.
find, and not only find it, but buy it.
Buy it. Exactly. Yeah.
Because I mean, we're all guilty of it, right? We'll listen to a song for free. It's like, okay, well, it's a great song, but how many people are gonna spend $1.29? Like for our stuff, we got a lot of streams, but there's not a lot of people like, yeah, I'll give you $1.29 for your song. And I don't blame them. It's just the way of the world now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting because I was talking to one of the UK's biggest festival promoters, and I was asking him, how has your process of discovering new bands and new artists changed? Because back in the day, it would be there were a certain number of venues you could go to and listen to new bands, and today it's the Spotify charts or it's the Apple Music charts, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. I
you,
mean, if you know how to play the game, it has its advantages. I'm not you know down in anything. I'm just saying that it's different than what it used to be, and
yeah,
it's a lot. In some ways, it's great. In some ways, it's very hard because everyone's on the same level as far as marketing, and to break through and get your head above that, you
yeah,
really not. You got to know what you're doing, and plus longevity helps too.
yeah,
Longevity
yeah.
helps. Yeah.
Yeah. So, lastly, Tony, do you have a tour planned? Are you guys planning stuff for next year? What's in the pipeline?
Well, right now, I mean, we don't have anything in cement right now, nothing locked down, but we do have a lot of people in the industry uh, that are friends, and we're hopefully gonna lock in some shows. Hopefully opening up for certain artists, and right now we're just looking for a chance to get in front of people
Yeah.
and and get our music out. And we're not picky. I mean, if we have some of our friends who want to say, hey, you can open up the show for us, or maybe another band will hear us and be like, hey, we'll bring you out for a couple of weeks and come open up for us. That's all we're like. We're very humble, and we're appreciative of everything, especially like coming on a show like yours. Like, we really do appreciate it that you invited us on, and that's all we're trying to do: put out good music, and hopefully the stuff will come our way.
Absolutely, and we'll do our bit. I'll do my bit. I'll spread the word. I'll play your music, and
Thank
hopefully
you.
I'll get to see you guys on the road, and we do some
Yeah.
pictures for you guys.
Yes, thank you. We'll do the same. We'll put you up on our social media and stuff, and
Wonderful,
help each other out.
wonderful, great, lovely chatting with you, Tony.
Yeah, it's great to meet you. I
Lovely
appreciate
to
it.
meet you. Please say hi to Mike and wish him well.
I will. I
Also,
will. Thank you.
great. Cheers, Tony.
Cheers.
Bye.